upon a time there was truth in journalism, where brave men and women gave voice to the voiceless. But then the corporations bought the journalist, poisoning the news that we are fed. With those tainted sources, all we ever ate was a steady diet of status quo. This hijacked narrative is the truth of mass suffering, injustice and corruption throughout our land. Status quo, status quo, status quo, status quo. To expose this shift to oligarchy came a band of honest journalists. They left the studio and hit the streets to give the microphone back to the people. From sea to sea, the people were empowered to share their truth. Their voices no longer stifled, reclaimed their power. Join the media revolution now.
Hey there, Jordan Sheridan, live from New York City. Hope you're having a lovely, lovely start to your day. It is Monday, July 22nd, 2019. I am back, and hopefully better than ever. Lot of things going on. My God, I didn't go live Friday. I didn't go live Sunday. I needed to, breathe a little bit, take a break. Going at a bit of a hectic pace the last few months. So has Jen. So took a break. And my Lord, you turn away from what's going on for 2 minutes. You're way, way behind. So hope everyone had a nice weekend here in New York City. Climate change caused record temperatures for this time of year. So pretty soon we'll all be trying to move to the North Pole. Or, as long as possible President Joe Biden says, we'll do a little middle ground for climate change. And while we all burn to death. So, wonderful, wonderful. Status quo, I don't know, for those of you who haven't been paying attention, status quo is kind of on fire. Fire, fire, fire. Call the police, call the fire department. We are on the doorstep of 57,000 subscribers. Right there, 56,533. Like 5 minutes ago, we passed 50,000. And we're already almost at 57,000. This is by far, capital by far, the fastest growth we've ever had. I don't want to jinx it, but we've been growing about 1,000 subscribers a day for the last few days, which is incredible. I think 2 or 3 videos that we did, both myself, Jen, one of her videos, really took off on YouTube. And as a result, our channel is getting to more and more people who haven't previously seen the channel, and they're pressing that subscribe button. For any of you watching right now that are new, make sure when you press the subscribe button, you also press the bell to get notifications when we're live. It doesn't mean YouTube will actually notify you because, as I say, this is YouTube. That's YouTube. They don't like notifying or letting you know that we're alive and breathing here at Status Quo or other independent progressive networks. Jimmy Dore, Secular Talk, Humanist Report, Jamarl Thomas, Redacted Tonight. I don't know who I'm forgetting. They're going through the same things, but we're growing and we're not taking our foot off the pedal. We're going full systems a go. So we're hoping, we literally just passed 50,000 subscribers, I think, last week. So if we keep going at this pace, we'll be at 60,000, hopefully in the next week or so. We are also 7 days out from heading to Detroit for the second Democratic debate. Ty and I will be on the ground there. Obviously in Miami, we had some fun. We interviewed Trump supporters. We interviewed Bernie supporters, Tulsi supporters. We gave MSNBC some. Should I demonetize myself 5 minutes in? We gave MSNBC some shiz. This is a super chat, by the way. If you're feeling super, let us know in the super chat. So we're going to the Detroit debate. I got news on that front as far as whether we're going to get media credentials to go in the debate. I'll have news on that a little bit later. So this is all very exciting, and welcome to our new subscribers. And as always, hello to our OG subscribers. As always, before I get started, you have a checklist, a very important checklist. I need every one of you. There's almost 200 people watching already. I need every single one of you to press that like button right under my ugly face. The hair is growing back, thank God. Press that thumbs up button. It's right under the video. If you're watching on your mobile phone, temporarily X out of the live chat. You see a little X. Press X. Smash that thumbs up button and then go back into the live chat. The more people that see this live stream, the more people that press the like button, the more people that will see the live stream that don't currently have it in their feeds. For whatever reason, that's YouTube, how YouTube's algorithm works. So do me a favor, press that thumbs up button. We're going to talk about membership a little bit more. Obviously, we have a lot of new subscribers, so we want to let you know about our membership program. We're at 633 members. Our goal for the end of this month is 700. It's going to be a 50-50 proposition if we get to 700. I think, hopefully, the Detroit debate will help us get to 700. But for you stragglers who are watching who are not a member, remember, you become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Is real journalism worth a cup of coffee or a sandwich per month or $179 annually? Membership is how we cover stories in the field that the corporate media and a lot of independent media are covering up. Membership is how we fund real in-the-field reporting. We got great reporting to show you today and for the rest of the week. So, statusquo.com/join. Become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. And, of course, you do get bonus content. Ty will be moving to New York City next week. Ty's moving. He's coming back with me to New York after the Detroit debate, so he will be here permanently. And he and I are going to be doing a lot more content just for members because we want you not only to get the reward of supporting us and our reporting, but also get exclusive bonus content. Status Quo, like just before I went live, crossed 8,000 followers on Twitter. So if you're not a follower on Twitter, at Status Quo, I'm at Jordan Sheridan. Subscribe to our podcast. That's bit.ly/Status Quo podcast. And join our email list. You could go to statusquo.com, which you should be going to every day. Every day, go to statusquo.com because we post videos and articles and members content there. And enter your email. There's a little section to enter your email. That's another important way for us to grow. The more, any company, the larger your email list, the better. We will not spam you with senseless BS multiple times a day. So, this is a super chat. As a reminder, this is a super chat. So every amount counts. And obviously, I read your questions, comments, concerns in the super chat. If you leave a super chat, and if I didn't give you enough already, our GoFundMe is at $65,147. So we're now on the final countdown to that final goal of $85,000. Less than $20,000 to go. Keep it coming, baby. If there's one choice, if you say, Jordan, what would you prefer? Membership or GoFundMe? Absolutely. Become a member. Statusquo.com/join. Hey, if you could do both, even better. Jen will put the links in the live stream. But the more members we have, the healthier a company we are. We are almost at, when you combine our website membership with our Patreons, we don't want to forget our wonderful patrons, we're almost at 1,000 total. So very, very important. Very, very important. So where do we start? Trump is back with his, it's not even dog whistling. It's just a dog siren of racism and bigotry. We covered that a little bit last week. If I see something more to cover, I will. We broke a bit of a story. Marcus Ely, one of our reporters, and thanks to you, we were able to bring on Marcus as a reporter. We're not going to keep him full-time after July because we don't have the money to keep him full-time. But we are going to keep him in a scaled-back capacity. So don't worry, he's not going completely gone. But hopefully, as we grow our membership, we'll be able to keep people hire a full-time reporter, which is definitely what we want. Statusquo.com/join. And thank you, Conspiracy, $1 in the super chat, getting us started. So Marcus had the just enticing assignment to cover Joe Biden on Saturday. Joe Biden was in Nevada Nevada caucus is obviously one of the first. It goes New Hampshire, it goes Iowa, New Hampshire, and Nevada is actually before South Carolina this year. So Nevada is very important. Bernie has obviously been there, Elizabeth Warren, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, who, by the way, just hired a former Goldman Sachs executive to be his national policy director. Can you say with me, Uncle Pete? He's definitely has your interest at heart. So Marcus did good reporting there. And sometimes when you're at these events, and I've done this too, you overhear something that is quite interesting, and then you pop on the camera. So let's play what Marcus found at this Joe Biden event. The Biden event was held at the IBEW Local 396 building. That is the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. So a local electrical workers union there, right in Nevada. It was a small venue because, as I've seen, I covered Joe Biden's foreign policy speech here last week. Most of these events of middle-class Joe and union guy Joe are being held at very small venues because he's having trouble even filling out those small venues, so they're not going to put him in a bigger venue. So let's take a look at what Marcus found. Let me set it up for a minute. So Marcus cut it up into four different clips. He showed you the venue before the event started. Then he showed you what he overheard, and then he showed you his interview with this gentleman. Let me play it. Thank you, John Coyne. $20 in the super chat. That's very generous of you. Keep it coming in the super chat if you can. So let's see Marcus's reporting. Again, this is ours, exclusive, and I'll give you my thoughts on the back end.
Marcus Ely here for Status Coup, and it looks like Joe Biden is using seat fillers, or at least his campaign is using seat fillers to give the illusion that there's more support than there actually is, and we have video evidence of this. We got 4 videos to look at. The first video is 14 minutes before the event was supposed to start. The second video is also of the crowd. The first video is of the crowd as well. And it's 10 minutes before the event was in the crowd, 10 minutes before it was supposed to start. Now, 14 minutes before the event's supposed to start, there's 40 open chairs of 98. I hand counted the chairs. There were 98 chairs there. And there were about 40 to 43 empty chairs. And then we get, or rather I hear a gentleman speaking to someone else saying that he's a seat filler, and I immediately turned my camera on and recorded him saying that. And then I turned my camera off and asked him about it. And he admitted that he was told to be a seat filler. And he said that the other folks that he saw there were their people, but they thought the vice president would be coming in any minute, and that they wanted to make sure that the seats were filled in case of he came in. And his response was, "What is this, the Oscars?" So you can see for yourself. We'll go ahead and cut to the 4 videos now, and you all can decide for yourself.
That was a change a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit more on the low end, please. That'd be great. It's a beautiful day here in Las Vegas, roughly 195 degrees outside today. It feels that way for anybody that hasn't been outside yet.
That's what I noticed. About 5 minutes ago, I'm like, oh, and I looked over there, I'm like, that officer?
He said, we need seat fillers. I'm like, what is this, the Oscars?
They told you to be a seat filler?
Yeah. Not really. It's just that they got more people coming, but they said that for now, in case he does come in,
Oh, yeah, because the seats were pretty empty, huh?
Yeah, well, now, not anymore.
Yeah. Well, I guess you guys got so many seat fillers to fill the seats.
Actually, no. All these people are all there invited guests.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're all invited.
So, now that you've seen the video, you can decide for yourself. I do want to add that I spoke with the communications director for the Biden campaign, and I believe he was over the state of Nevada. I could be wrong about that, but he was at the event, and he's explained to me that they do not use seat fillers, and that's not a thing that they do. However, that would be a direct contradiction with what we just saw on video.
Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on over to statuscoup.com where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statuscoup.com/join. And remember, join our email list so we can grow the revolution with you.
Good work by Marcus. I don't know why he, at the end of that, did a little glow in the dark with him talking over the Status Quo logo, but whatever. Still good. So, several things on this. Number one, let's be clear. This isn't Watergate. We're not saying that this is, a major scandal. But bottom line, from my experience covering the campaign in 2016, particularly Hillary Clinton events, there were definitely events where the campaigns were basically asking people in the event venues, so whether it's a union hall, whether it's a university, whatever it was, asking people not invited to the event, asking people, that didn't show up, to see the event, but just people who work in the building or are affiliated with whatever the venue is to fill the seats to make it look more full. Now, this is one person saying it, but we are. Marcus doesn't know for sure, but he did say he saw this person in the union offices and thinks that he was one of the union people there. And as you watched, he said, they told us to fill the seats. So who knows what that means? He could have been told by his boss at the union to, go sit down, or somebody from the Biden campaign was telling them, hey, take your seats, whatever the case may be. So the bottom line is this guy wasn't invited to the event, and he also wasn't there of his own volition. I wish we had it confirmed, but we're pretty sure that he was part of the union there. So with that said, and remember, we got 330 people watching. Only 187 of you have pressed the like button. So we need 120 of you, 150 of you, press that thumbs up button right under the video. The more people that press the like button, the more people that will see the live stream who aren't watching right now. If you're watching on your phone, X out of the live chat real quick, press the thumbs up button. We got 150 more likes to go. So why is this important? Again, we're not saying this is Watergate. We're not saying it's scandalous. I would say if the Democratic Party has an interest in defeating President Donald Trump, who, if you're watching over the last week, is looking like he is leading Klan rallies or, SS, Germany, Nazi rallies. And I say that, I don't casually compare Trump to Adolf Hitler. I told you last week, I stayed away from that stuff. But if you watch that event where people are chanting center back, I don't know what else you would compare it to. This is how the Holocaust and the Nazi regime and Hitler started, by basically, propping up national pride by saying it's the Jews, they're the reason, they're trying to steal our identity and what we've built here in Germany, and they're the other. It's exactly what's going on. So what I think is pretty significant about this story is you have somebody who, according to the polls, is leading, but very similar to 2016, where Hillary Clinton, according to the polls, was leading. They have all their events in very small venues. And even in those small venues, I mean, Marcus showed you 15 minutes before the event, if there's 98 seats available and 43 of them are empty, what does that tell you? Now, you could say, not everybody showed up yet, blah, blah, blah. So let's say in 15 minutes, 20 more people come. And let's say 5 minutes to 10 minutes after the event, another 5 people trickle in. Well, you're still not. This is the former vice president, the last vice president of the United States, not able to sell out a small union venue to the point where the union is filling the seats so that optically it doesn't look like there's any empties. Try to store Watson Jr. So what? I'll tell you so what. I'm very interested in your name. You're not going to defeat Donald Trump if you have no enthusiasm. You're not going to defeat a zealot, to me, a quasi-fascist, if you can't even fill, if you cannot inspire enough people to come out to a local union hall. And Jen and I were talking before we went live. So how these campaign events work, I mean, every event's different, but a lot of events are kind of two things. Number one, they have invites, so they invite people. So, for example, the foreign policy speech that I covered last week of Joe Biden, which he said a whole lot of nothing, they had like 3 rows reserved for invite. They invited people, probably people at the university, donors, who knows. And then the rest of the people were there willingly, waiting online to get in. So a lot of these events have kind of a mix of people who were invited and people who were not. I will tell you in that video, one thing that was interesting, Marcus told me the day this happened, when the guy didn't see that he was shooting him, he was talking very freely, as you could say. He was saying, yeah, they told us to be seat fillers, and is this the Oscars? But then when he saw Marcus was shooting, and Marcus was talking to him, he started to like tense up a little bit, almost like he wanted to dress it up and be like, oh no, these are all invited guests. I could promise you they were not all invited guests at a local union hall. I could promise you that. The union hall, if I go back, probably promoted it on their Facebook page. It was probably promoted in local media. They were not all invited guests to this thing. So I think that guy was trying to dress it up because he saw somebody shooting him and didn't want it to be revealed that they were paying seat fillers. The other thing I will tell you, why I think this is an important story, I didn't report this in Miami because I couldn't confirm it. I still can't confirm it, but when you couple it with what Marcus overheard, in Miami, a local activist came up to me and said, hey, he was wearing a Bernie shirt and he was standing with other Bernie supporters in the section where local supporters of candidates stood. It's the same section that the DNC had cordoned off, so journalists like me could not go interview the actual supporters of candidates holding signs. Anyway, this activist said somebody came up to the Bernie supporters wearing a Biden shirt, and he said, they asked why he liked Biden, and the guy said he had no clue. They, I don't know who they is, just gave him a shirt, and he said he actually liked Bernie. So the activist said we assumed it was the Biden's team who told the guy, gave him a Biden shirt and told him go stand over there. In fairness, I don't know if it was the Biden team that told him. It could have been NBC, it could have been the DNC, who knows? So I don't have confirmation who it was, but I do know, I remember hearing it, and I heard it directly that this guy wearing a Biden shirt said he's a Bernie supporter, but he was just given a shirt and told to go walk over there. My gut tells me, because I know for a fact that they were paying people to go stand with John Delaney shirts, because who in their right mind, other than his mother and his wife, is going to willingly stand with a shirt, Delaney 2020. What would the slogan be? Like, nothing is possible, vote for me? So it is possible. Again, I'm not trying to be petty, I'm not trying to gossip, but why would somebody who says, no, I'm a Bernie supporter, they just gave me the shirt and told me to walk over here, be wearing a Biden shirt, and who is they telling him? You add that with this event where people who work for the union or people who work in the building are saying, oh, they're telling us we need seat fillers. I mean, did you see that hall? It was very small. This is not like the former HUD, Director of Housing and Urban Development speaking. This is not the former, Deputy Secretary of State. This is the last Vice President of the United States who, according to the polls, is the most electable. According to the polls, is winning. Well, Hillary Clinton was up in all the polls. Every poll said Donald Trump could not win the Republican nomination. Every poll said Hillary Clinton was up. Every poll said Hillary Clinton was going to beat Donald Trump. Polls don't always show the whole story. So that's why I always said these people in 2016, mostly coming from corporate media outlets, were saying, oh, rally size doesn't matter. Rally size doesn't matter. Well, Hillary Clinton, I cover probably 7 to 10 Hillary Clinton rallies. The largest event I ever saw her have was when Michelle Obama spoke. Other than that, it was small college gymnasiums, small union halls, nothing impressive. In fairness to her, I don't think I saw many events where there was emptiness. Oh, great. Flash flood warning here in New York City. Oh boy. Looks like it's about to lightning and thunderstorm, so that's exciting. So, oh, by the way, all of this talk of shirts, Status Quo has a merchandise store. Did you know that? Jen just put the super chat link. It put the link in the super chat. So you could go to the beach, your pool, anywhere you want, wearing Status Quo shirts. We got pillows. We got everything in that Status Quo store. That's another great way to support us. Go to Status Quo's merchandise store and get that swag. A shirt. You could get workout pants. You could get a coffee mug and put other things in there if you want. Very important. We want to see more people out there. No, it's not an Amber Alert. It's a weather alert. Carne, don't start rumors. So, David just got a flash flood warning in Tennessee. So, what's very striking to me about this is two things. This has been reported in multiple outlets. Joe Biden's campaign is intentionally booking small venues because they cannot fill big venues. Well, if you can't fill big venues, and 15 minutes before the event, half of the crowd is empty. Even if it was entirely all invite, which I don't think this event was entirely all invite, it's all 15 minutes before, it's half empty. There is a gaping enthusiasm void for Joe Biden, and it is strikingly similar to what we saw for Hillary Clinton. The corporate media could spin it whatever way they want. Iceberg right ahead. This is Hillary Clinton 3.0. I say 3.0 because she lost 2 times, 08 and 16. There's middle-class Joe at the front. Thank you, Colin Tooley, for the wonderful graphic. There's, Kamala Harris, who I have something to talk about with Kamala Harris a little bit later, and all the corporate media stiffs, and Schumer and Nancy and Tom in the back. This is Hillary Clinton's campaign, deja vu. Am I missing something? The guy was very clearly saying, they told us to be seat fillers. What is this, the Oscars? And, in some cases, for example, Jen and I were talking before the live stream. She was saying, well, I've covered Bernie events, like people working in Bernie's campaign sat in the seats when it started, if there were empty seats until the people showed up. That's one thing. That's very different than somebody who works at an event venue filling seats. So like a union worker or somebody who works for these venues filling the seats because they can't get people to show up. And the importance of this is we are looking right now basically it's almost August. So August, September, October, November, December, January, 7 months before the Iowa caucus. The corporate media continues to prop up this man. Most of these polls are undersampling young people. When I say young people, I'm branching that off even under 50. No offense to my older viewers, but we've reported this at Status Coup. So if they cannot fill even smaller venues, what does that tell you? Campaigns need energy to win. Look to the campaigns that have lost. Al Gore, even though technically he did win. I don't like Al Gore, but he won. Look at Al Gore. Look at John Kerry. Not exactly enthralling man. He didn't win. Obama, who was full of it, inspiring guy, hoodwinked a lot of us watching right now, and me. Very inspiring, energized the nation. Donald Trump, zealot. I'm moving over to remove the quasi and just call him a fascist. Inspired a whole, 60 million people to vote for him. The candidates that lose can't fill venues, are uninspiring, have poor debate performances. So when the history books are written, if they push Biden through as the nominee and he loses, remember things like this, where Status Coup and Marcus, with the great reporting, was showing you they're filling seats at these things. And frankly, I should have been more observant at the last event, because I did see some empty seats, but I was too busy showing you that they weren't letting the media interview anyone. They were basically blocking the media from leaving the pen, very similar to Trump events. So, I'm not saying this is scandalous. I'm not saying it's Watergate. I'm not saying it's the biggest story in the news. I am saying it's pretty telling that the last vice president of the United States cannot fill a local union hall. It's pretty telling that the people that work at that union hall, again, we don't have it confirmed, but I'm pretty sure that guy worked for the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. He wasn't invited to the event, and he didn't come on his own. He was said, we need seat fillers, go sit. What is this, the Oscars? Bottom line, MSNBC, who we're going to get to in a minute, can pontificate all they want that Joe Biden is more electable. He's not. If he is the nominee, well, hopefully Bernie starts hitting him in this next debate. He voted for NAFTA. He's still in favor of TPP. He's a train wreck waiting to happen. Literally a train wreck. The Titanic. Oh, I forgot. I want to show all the graphics. Some of you are new here. Thanks, Colin Tooley, for the wonderful... So we got the Titanic. We also have corporate media with their heads buried in the sand. There's Trump sitting. There's little Joe sitting. There's Don and Jake Tupperware and Mika and Joe, that married couple. Head in the sand. Head in the sand. So, definitely share that video. We posted it about an hour before we went live. Let people see Joe Biden can't fill a venue. Joe Biden is literally having to have people working in the buildings. So show it to your auntie and uncle. Show it to your neoliberal family members. Say, hey, this is the person you're supporting. He's going to lose. He's going to lose. Period. And frankly, it sucks because Bernie is not going to be able to be on stage with him at this next debate. Frankly, I think it's ridiculous. I think the people polling at the top should be on the same debate stage, and people polling lower shouldn't. There's many reasons. Tulsi, for example, is polling low because the media has blacked her out, because the media has made her look like an Assad apologist and a Russian stooge and all these things. So sometimes people who are polling lowly by design because the media has manufactured discontent against them. But Amy Klobuchar, who, by the way, I'm going to have a story on later this week. I watched a documentary yesterday on the food industry, basically killing our children because of their greed. Do you know that Amy Klobuchar literally forced into a bill, a farming bill and an agricultural bill, that frozen pizzas would be deemed vegetables? so that they were not taken out of school cafeterias? That's Amy Klobuchar. She literally, because of her donors, many of them, one of them had a frozen food pizza empire. She pushed this bullshit that, oh, swear jar, I cursed, I'm demonetized. That frozen pizza, the tomato paste in the pizza is a vegetable. So, frozen pizza was kept in your child's school cafeteria. It's called Fed Up. I would definitely watch it. Definitely watch it. I'm not like a health nut, but I'm going to start eating better with that. So, that's what's going on. That's going on with Middle Class Joe. It's called Fed Up. Watch that documentary, Fed Up. F-E-D and up. So, by the way, we got 500 of you watching, only 316 likes. What are you people doing who have not pressed the like button? Smash that like button. It's a thumbs up button. So before I move on, we have an announcement to make. And by the way, for 500 of you, if you're not a Status Quo member, what are you doing? statusquo.com/join. You can become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. $5 to $10 a month can fund real independent journalism. That's how Marcus was able to go out there and shoot that. Membership is what's paying for Marcus to go in the field. Membership is what's paying for Jen and Ty and I to go cover the Detroit debate. Membership is what's paying for Jen to go to D.C. and other places to cover Bernie events that she did so well last week. There's a lot of other outlets out there telling you, join us, pay $10 a month, pay whatever a month, and we're gonna give you X, Y, and Z. What are you getting? 24/7 bullshit. 24/7 Trump. 24/7 Russia. Stormy Daniels. Whatever the food fight in Washington is for the week. We don't do that. We actually roll up our sleeves and go out in the field. Jen went out on the 4th of July in that schwitzing heat in Washington, D.C. and got great stuff. She also went out for the Proud Boys Antifa standoff. She also covered Bernie standing with workers at a Philadelphia hospital, rallying with workers because a greedy corporate douchebag is trying to close down a hospital for low-income people and minority individuals in the community so he could build a bunch of luxury condos. Sound about right? So we're covering the stories that matter. Marcus covered that. We got other interviews Marcus has done with Biden supporters we're going to show you. But membership is how we grow. And a shout out, by the way, we have a new member since I've been live. Welcome to the Media Revolution, David Kotecki. So we are now at 634 Status Quo members. Our goal for the end of this month is 700. For those of you that don't know, we're going to cover the debate this coming week. We fly Sunday. The debate, I believe, is Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. We're going to be covering a lot of other stories other than debate, whatever activist activity is going on around the debate. And I have news. Bear with me as the screen goes black for a minute because I didn't have time to load it. La-da-da. Status Quo. If I could find it. Yes. Status Quo has been approved for the CNN debate. Sort of. So, of course, CNN, if you don't know, if you're new to this channel, CNN had actually filed a copyright violation against this channel in March, I believe it was. So we were prevented from even going live for 3 months. And that was a pain in the butt. Thank God that's over with. But we were prevented from going live for 3 months. MSNBC denied us credentials to cover the first debate. When life gives you lemons, make lemonade. We had a good time. We got over 130 new paid members. Thank you for becoming a Status Quo member. We had some videos go viral with those Trump supporters outside the debate. We covered a really amazing Green New Deal march. We covered a Medicare for All march. We covered a Tulsi Gabbard debate watch party. We covered a Bernie Sanders debate watch party. We did a whole lot of good stuff. So we applied, and MSNBC gave us the nonsense of, space constraints. Well, that great reporter, Jimmy Dore, great comedian Jimmy Dore, got inside because he was an invited guest of Tulsi Gabbard. He didn't get in as press, but he got in anyway. He told me you could hit a golf ball across the room, nobody would get hit. There's plenty of room. So obviously that was BS. MSNBC didn't want us in there because, let's just say the Democratic Party knows my work. I don't even mean it arrogantly. They just know who I am. They know the Donna Brazile thing. And that Donna Brazile thing happened because I had credentials for that debate to go into what they call the spin room after the debate. And the spin room is another word for the lying room, the lying lounge, where campaign officials go in and just lie about the candidate's record and their debate performance. So we get this doozy from CNN. Your request for a press credential is approved. However, due to space constraints, we are not able to provide you with access to the press filing and spin room. So, your request for access to Media Row is approved. However, due to space constraints, we are not able to provide you with access to the spin room or the press filing room. So let me tell you what that means. Media row is basically a row inside the debate where media who gets credentialed can broadcast. So, pundits and all sorts of people, sometimes politicians, are guests on all these shows, and they're all in one section. So you have everywhere from, CNN to NPR to probably the Young Turks to Now This News to, the corporate or independent media. And they're in Media Row. I personally don't give a flying fuck about being in Media Row. It'll be nice to have credentials to go inside the building because it's pretty hot out nowadays, so at least Ty and I could get a break and go inside the building. But, to sit there and interview pundits, that's not what Status Quo does. I'm not interested really in interviewing pundits. I would be interested in interviewing campaign aides to the Biden campaign or the Harris campaign or the Buttigieg campaign or Tulsi Gabbard's campaign or Elizabeth Warren's campaign or any of the candidates, Bernie's campaign. And I'm sure now that we could actually get into the building, it would be a little easier to interview people from Bernie's campaign, Tulsi's campaign, and hopefully other campaigns. But Media Row is, generally speaking, just a giant circle jerk of corporate media, and pundits go on shows. That's what it is. Or, NPR broadcasting from the debate, or, that's how it is. It's not where, like, sometimes the candidates will go and do interviews, but generally speaking, you're not going to have a lot of ability to interview campaign officials. The other thing, so that's what we got approved for. What we got denied for was the press filing room, which I also don't care about that. That's just the press can sit during the debate, right? They're writing their stories, they're tweeting, they're filing, which, whatever. But I don't really care. I don't need to sit next to a bunch of corporate hacks pretending to be journalists during the debate. The spin room is where it's at. The spin room is what we want access to, because that's after the debate. That is where Joe Biden's campaign people, Kamala Harris's campaign people, Elizabeth Warren's campaign people, you name it, the campaign officials, I believe, could be wrong. I think Simone Sanders, who is, I think trading whatever integrity she had, throwing it out the door to lie for Joe Biden on national television. She was Bernie Sanders' press secretary. Oh boy, would I love to interview her in that spin room. I would love to interview a person from the Harris campaign. I got something to cover about Harris. I would love to interview some people with Elizabeth Warren's campaign because I got some questions. Apparently, there's enough space for us to basically stand in a circle jerk with other media. Not enough space for us to go in and challenge anyone. I wonder why that is. Jen, do you wonder why that is? How there's space for us to get in the building, but there's no space for us to go into the spin room and interview anyone? Could that have anything to do with the fact that They know we're not going to just sit there and be like, how do you think your candidate did in the debate? Did you like that zinger? Do you think they're up, down, or sideways? And by the way, for context, the Spin Room is where I interviewed Donna Brazil in 2016, which, for those of you that saw that, I challenged her and it went pretty viral. So, bottom line, listen, you got to pace yourself in campaigns. Of course, I could rabble-rouse at this debate. At least we have the ability to go in this time. I could see if I could get in the Spin Room, if I play nice. I don't think they're going to let us in the Spin Room, but I could still see. I could even try to sneak into the Spin Room. But if you sneak into the Spin Room and you get caught, whoop, I ain't getting in to these events ever again. And I probably won't get into Biden events, Harris events, whatever. So that's how access journalism works. If you're a good little boy and girl, you can come in the Spin Room. You could do all the stenography you want. You could ask all the softball questions you want. You could pretend to be a journalist all you want, and everything is good. If you're part of the club, you could come in and spin, aka let the candidates lie, and pass that off to your audience uncritically. But if you challenge someone, we'll let you in like the front door. You know, we'll let you walk around the kitchen. We're not letting you sit down for dinner. That's basically what CNN is telling status quo. We'll let you in. We'll let you stand, and you know, you could look at the nice tables. You could read the menu. Maybe we'll let you sit at the bar while waiting for a table, but no guarantees you're going to get a table. Actually, guarantee you're not going to get a table. So that's the deal. We're still going anyway. Just like we did in Miami, we're going to cover the debate the way Status Quo covers it, which is with the people outside. We'll go in and we'll take the temperature, see if there's anything we could get inside. But for the most part, we're going to be outside with the people. We'll be at the debate watch parties again. We'll try to get into the Spin Room if we can. We'll try to interview the likes of Simone Sanders. I don't think they're going to be so willing to do that because they know they're not going to be able to lie like they do on CNN and MSNBC and get away with it. So we'll see. We'll see. So, and we'll have a little, you know, we'll be promoting that we're going to the debate all week. We'll have some membership promos because we're trying to build up our membership on the road to the debate. So again, we're at 634 right now for the 500 of you watching. For those of you that are not a member, this is how we fund this in the field reporting. So, become a member, statusquo.com/join. It makes a huge, huge difference. In Miami, just from covering that debate, we grew, I believe, over 130 members in a week and a half during and after Miami. So if we could keep doing that, we are going to be able to eventually, sooner than later, be able to hire a full-time reporter and do a lot more. So statusquo.com/join, become a member now. So in addition to Joe Biden not being able to fill seats, did you see this MSNBC clip? I mean, obviously we know what MSNBC is. We know that MSNBC is basically an arm of the Democratic Party. Carne Verde, can Status Quo interview the candidate supporters on the other side of the roped-off areas this time? If the DNC doesn't try and use them as props and forbid the media from going near them, if you didn't watch in Miami, they literally used human beings as props. They had them hold up signs for their candidate, but rope them off so nobody could go up and interview them. I've never seen anything like it. They're human mannequins. So, this MSNBC clip, I've seen a lot of things on MSNBC. They lie all the time. There was an anchor who literally showed a poll that showed Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren tied and said Elizabeth Warren is taking the lead over Bernie Sanders. Like, stuff like that. Just like glaringly lying. But it's different when you have people on that just release all this vitriol against. It's one thing if you are like just like a corporate Democrat hack who doesn't want Medicare for all. Okay, I could deal with that. We'll debate it. We'll show that you're, greedy. We'll show that you probably have a conflict of interest. But at least like it's on a policy. But the people that MSNBC are having on are so deranged about Bernie Sanders, you have to wonder, does it go higher? Why are they so deranged about Bernie Sanders? May Ed Schultz, the great host, rest in peace. Remember in 2015, when he was still at MSNBC, he had gone up to Burlington, Vermont for MSNBC to interview Bernie Sanders. He was about to start his show, The Ed Show, live with an interview with Bernie Sanders. And Phil Griffin, the president of MSNBC, shut him down. Said, "You are not interviewing Bernie Sanders live to lead off this hour," and totally shut him down. And then, shocker, Ed Schultz was later basically let go from MSNBC. Ironically, he was the only one on air against the TPP, and he was the only one trying to give Bernie Sanders fair coverage. He was let go, and he passed away sadly, I think last year. I loved Ed Schultz. So let's take a look at this. We're going to start with our friend Zerlina Maxwell, who's just completely full of shit, saying things that just are based on nothing other than her strange Bernie derangement. This is MSNBC from this weekend. I think the show is called Up, and they have Zerlina Maxwell and someone else on to spew lies and, frankly, bizarre derangement about Bernie Sanders. Here we go.
These two candidates side by side, what the differences are. And I guess a huge one is just how they regard themselves. Bernie Sanders, avowed democratic socialist. Elizabeth Warren, believer in the markets with regulation, a more nuanced, a better patrolled set of markets than we have.
Well, I think it's interesting that you use the word nuanced, because that's actually what I'm thinking about as I compare them. They obviously have the same, similar set of values in terms of what the government should be doing for the American people and how you should regulate that government so that it works for everybody, right? They agree on that. They don't agree on the approach to get there. And in Elizabeth Warren's case, I actually know in detail how she wants to get there. And I would say that in Bernie Sanders' case, there are certain policies like Medicare for All that he put out a lot more detail than some of his other ideas. I don't have as much of the detail of how we're going to transform the healthcare industry, to quote, something he says all the time, right? And so how are you going to transform it? Elizabeth Warren, on the one hand, will tell me exactly how. Sometimes Bernie Sanders does not. So I think it's very important to have them on the same stage at a debate so you can make that direct comparison. You don't need to pay attention to political analysis.
So this was the more timid, this was the more mild criticism. Again, it's not based on anything in fact. Actually, as I'm about to show you, it's a lie. She says, Bernie Sanders with plans like Medicare for All, Elizabeth Warren is way more specific on how she's going to do it. How is she going to do it? Way more specific than Bernie. Bernie just throws these things out there, no specifics. Elizabeth Warren has changed has floated like the wind on Medicare for All. Not only do we have very little specifics how she'll do it, we don't even know if she'll do it, because she has said a different thing over and over again. Of course, this MSNBC anchor, who's not a journalist, he's a mannequin with makeup on, pretending to be one, doesn't challenge this bullshit. But this is how groupthink and group lies capture the electorate to basically prop up one candidate and prop down another. By the way, Elizabeth Warren, she has good policies. The problem is they keep branding her as this I have a plan person, when in reality, a lot of her plans are recycled Bernie plans. Not just Bernie plans, but a lot of her plans were put forth by other senators that she signed on as a co-sponsor. So props to her for being for the right plans, but she's not exactly reinventing the wheel, as Colin Tooley so wonderfully shows us in this graphic. But MSNBC and Politico and all these places are making it seem like Elizabeth Warren is just so specific. She's got a plan down to, she's like one of those really anal retentive people that have a 10-page itinerary for vacations down to the very minute what you're going to be doing. Not so. So let's hear Elizabeth Warren, what she has to do. If, like Zerlina Maxwell has said, she's so specific on how she's going to transform the healthcare industry and how she's going to do Medicare for All. How specific does this sound to you?
Everything they can to take the legs out of it. Second thing we need to do, we need to...
Hold on.
Yes. Look, and in fact, I'd be focused on three things. The first is we need to defend the Affordable Care Act. The Republicans are still attacking it. Lawsuit down in Texas. HHS is doing everything they can to take the legs out of it. Second thing we need to do, we need to pick off the things that are easy. Reduce the cost of prescription drugs. I've got a bill to reduce the cost of generic drugs. We need a consumer's Bill of Rights for insurance, private insurance, so that people don't get ripped off. Same kind of deal I set up for credit card companies. That's part 2. And part 3, we got to keep moving us to a place where everybody is covered at the lowest possible cost. And there are a lot of different ways to get there. Medicare for All has a lot of different paths for how we get there. But ultimately, it's about making sure that we all adhere to the basic principle. Healthcare is a basic human right. It is our collective responsibility to make sure everybody gets coverage at the lowest possible cost. And Medicare, best way to get there.
I'm sorry. Did I miss where she offered one specific? Did she offer any specifics of how she's going to get cheaper prescription drugs? And again, with the language from Elizabeth Warren, there's plenty of ways to get there. This is the talk of people who are flexible on capital M Medicare for all. This is the talk of people who are flexible on capital M Medicare for all. Okay? Here's another doozy where Zerlina Maxwell says Elizabeth Warren is super, super specific, and I know how she's going to do it. Well, let's see what she says here during her CNN town hall from a few months ago.
What we're all looking for is the lowest cost way to make sure everybody gets covered. And some folks are talking about, let's start lowering the age. Maybe bring it down to 60, 55, 50. That helps cover people who are most at risk and can be helpful, for example, to the labor's plans. Some people say do it the other way. Let's bring it up from everybody under 30 gets covered by Medicare. Others say let employers be able to buy into the Medicare plans. Others say let's let employees buy into the Medicare plans. For me, what's key is we get everybody at the table on this. That labor's at the table, that people who have to buy on their own, everybody comes to the table together and we figure out how to do Medicare for all in a way that makes sure that we're going to get 100% coverage in this country at the lowest possible cost for everyone.
So you are a co-sponsor of Senator Bernie Sanders' Medicare for All bill, and I understand there are a lot of different paths to universal coverage, but his bill that you've co-sponsored would essentially eliminate private insurance. Is that something you could support?
He's got a runway for that. I think we get everybody together, and that's what it is. We'll decide. I've also co-sponsored other bills, including
Yeah, let's just get everybody together, get it at the table, and, we'll just work it out. Was that what Zerlina Maxwell was speaking about? How specific, Elizabeth Warren, she's so specific. She's so specifical. She's so specific. I know exactly how she's going to do it. And by the way, and to be clear, I know a lot of you don't like it, but I think you're all crazy. If Elizabeth Warren is the nominee, I am going to vote for her over Donald Trump. I don't even think to me, it's not even a debate. You vote for whoever you want. I'm not pushing it on you, but I don't know how people could look at Elizabeth Warren versus what you're starting to see at these Trump rallies, which is remnants of Nazi Germany. She's not Hillary Clinton. That's my opinion. I don't think she's going to be the nominee, but I think some people are being a little extreme. She would be way more progressive than Donald Trump on economics. However, I have to point out these pundits on MSNBC, these pundits on CNN, the New York Times, the Washington Post, Politico, everybody that's propping her up as I have a plan. She's been all over the place on Medicare for all. So in that thing, right there, she says, well, he's shown a runway for that. She didn't give a firm answer on whether she's going to abolish private health insurance, which has to be abolished if you're going to have universal health care, single-payer Medicare for all. Again, there could be private doctors, but you cannot have this hierarchical top-down system of big insurance companies, big pharma. You cannot have it and have a functioning, vibrant, cost-effective, universal government program. You cannot. So in that case, she doesn't give an answer on whether she's going to get rid of private insurance. Well, at the first debate, let's see what she said.
Abolish their private health insurance in favor of a government-run plan. Just a show of hands, start out with. All right, well.
So yes, I'm with Bernie on Medicare for All, and let me tell you why. I've spent a big chunk of my life studying why families go broke. And one of the number one reasons is the cost of health care, medical bills. And that's not just for people who don't have insurance, it's for people who have insurance. Look at the business model of an insurance company. It's to bring in as many dollars as they can in premiums and to pay out as few dollars as possible for your health care. That leaves families with rising premiums, rising co-pays, and fighting with insurance companies to try to get the health care that their doctors say that they and their children need. Medicare for All solves that problem. And I understand there are a lot of politicians who say, oh, it's just not possible, we just can't do it, it's have a lot of political reasons for this. What they're really telling you is they just won't fight for it. Well, healthcare is a basic human right, and I will fight for basic human rights.
Well, that's one hell of an answer, but it's one hell of a different answer than she gave to the New York Times, that she gave to at that CNN town hall. And by the way, Zerlina Maxwell says, I don't know how Bernie's going to do it, but with Warren, I know how she's going to do it. In what world, in any of the clips I just showed you, does Elizabeth Warren describe how she's going to provide Medicare for all? What she said was, I'm with Bernie, meaning I'm with Bernie's plan. She co-sponsored. She was one of the co-sponsors on Bernie Sanders' Medicare for All plan. Is that one of the I have a plan that she took from Bernie Sanders? Again, some of her plans are her own. She came up with them. She deserves credit for some of them. I think her plan to break up Amazon and Facebook and all that is terrific. Great plan. Bernie should do the same thing. But this bullshit on MSNBC and other places that, oh, I know how she's going to do it, and she's much more specific and all this, it's propaganda. And this is from someone who would vote for her if it came down to that. If you don't want to vote for her, don't vote for her. I don't really care. I don't tell people, unlike some outlets, I'm not going to tell you who to vote for. We're all adults. You vote for whoever you want. But it's just an alternate reality. And of course, the anchor doesn't push it, but it all manufactures consent for Warren and discontent for Bernie. So it seeps into the mainstream that Bernie's just tossing out ideas with no idea how he's going to get any of it done, no ideas how to pay for it, when that's just not true. It's not. And I just want to make sure I don't miss any super chats. Mark Wolzestick, $10 in the super chat. Thank you. Elizabeth Warren starts an answer with, okay, look, you know she's going to start spewing BS. Angela, $5 in the super chat. Jordan, people get upset when you pledge your vote to Warren 14 months in advance because then she doesn't have to move left at all to earn your vote. Angela, thank you so much. Thank you so much for giving me that much power that you believe what I say on this show actually dictates whether Elizabeth Warren moves to all the way to the left to earn somebody's vote. I wish I had that much power. Unfortunately, I don't. Secondly, listen, I'm always going to be honest with you. If you want to watch a channel that only says what you want and only believes what you believe, then I'm not your guy. I'm always going to be honest with you. I'm saying if it came down to that, not that I want her to be the nominee. I don't want her to be the nominee. I also don't think she would beat Donald Trump. So I don't want her to be the nominee. I don't think she should be the nominee. I think Bernie Sanders should be the nominee. Frankly, what she did in 2016 and some of the other things she's done to me is a non-starter. I'm saying when you have somebody like Trump literally, I think, setting up a race war in America, you got to look at the bigger picture. That is, to me, and also, I don't think Elizabeth Warren is as bad as Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, or Hillary Clinton. I just don't. Objectively, I don't, based on the record, based on what she's proposing, and based on what she was coming into politics. You don't have to agree with me, and I'm not telling you who to vote for. Vote for whoever you want. But I thank you for giving me that kind of power. I wish I had that kind of power to move Elizabeth Warren or anyone else all the way to the left. But if we keep growing our membership at Status Coup, hint, hint, statuscoup.com/join, maybe I would have that kind of power. So, here's the other thing. Bernie Sanders has offered specifics. I'm going to put this in the super chat for those of you who want to actually be bored and read it. Bernie Sanders has offered specifics on how to pay for Medicare for all, how he's going to transform the system. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but he gives several options, and he calls them options because he would have to negotiate it. So you could have a 7.5% income-based premium paid by employers. So employers would pay 7.5%, basically a tax. Revenue raised, $3.9 trillion over 10 years. Businesses would save over $9,000 in healthcare costs for the average employee under this option. He also has a 4% income-based premium paid by households, $3.5 trillion over 10 years. Typical middle-class family would save over $4,400 under this plan. Savings from health tax expenditures. Several tax breaks that subsidize healthcare would become obsolete and disappear under for Medicare for all. The biggest health expenditure is the preference that excludes employer-paid premiums from payroll and income tax. Options to make the wealthy pay for their fair share. Make the personal income tax more progressive. Revenue raised $1.8 trillion over 10 years. Under this plan, the marginal income tax rate would be 40% on income between $250,000 and $500,000, 45% on income between $500,000 and $2 million, 50% on income between $2 million and $10 million. So it's all right there. I'll put it in the super chat one more time. Read it, spread it. It's all right there. Bernie Sanders has been specific. To be fair, and I've criticized Bernie, I don't always think when he does interviews or even at the debate, he's been explaining Medicare for all 100% effectively. Because in the debate, if you remember, he said, well, you save money on healthcare. No. What Bernie Sanders simply needs to do is put his hand up, say, look, Savannah Guthrie, look, Jake Tupperware at the CNN debate, if you pay $15,000 a year for your family in healthcare, from the money they take out of your paycheck for your healthcare, from the copays, the deductibles, the coinsurance, the hidden costs that come up. If you pay $15,000, okay? And instead of that, you're going to pay an extra $10,000 as a family in income in taxes, okay? So to pay for Medicare for all, you would have to pay an extra $10,000 a year in taxes. The $15,000 you're paying for healthcare, gone like the wind. What is left is the $10,000 in tax increases. Is that a tax increase or a tax cut? That's a tax cut. And the problem is, the corporate media is spinning it, but premiums, copays, deductible, the money that's taken out of your paycheck for your employer-based health insurance, it is a tax. It's just called something else. So what generally would you call it if you're saving money? So if the $15,000 is gone and the $10,000 tax increase is there, it's a cut. It's savings. And I don't think he's explained that optimally. I think Fez Shakir, his campaign manager, has. So if anyone in the Bernie campaign watches me, that's my 2 cents. So it's just lie after lie after lie after lie by MSNBC, and it's nauseating after a while. But that wasn't even the worst of it. And by the way, what I just showed you on how Elizabeth Warren isn't more specific on how she's going to transform the Medicare for all system or the healthcare system, even though Zerlina Maxwell, a brainless pundit, said so, and the anchor didn't challenge her, it took me 5 minutes to find all that. So it's not at all hard for these journalists or these pundits to find the truth. They willfully, intentionally are lying. And that's dangerous. And that's not journalism. That's propaganda. But it gets worse. This whole clip got a lot worse. Here we go.
Like me, where I'm saying one is a little bit more heavy on the details than the other, you'll be able to see that.
How much does that permeate the debates, John? I mean, we've had one thus far, and Elizabeth Warren has all of these plans, all of these proposals, as Serlina is saying. How does that manifest itself on that debate stage? How much does it matter when you have these two candidates side by side, the granular detail in a plan like that?
Well, I think it matters a lot because Elizabeth Warren has branded herself as the more practical of the two, the more concrete of the two, and she's been kind of eating his lunch for the last couple of months.
She had a plan for that, arguably.
What's that?
She had a plan for that.
She had a plan for that.
Look, the difference between running as the only
Another ridiculous statement. Another ridiculous statement. Yes, some polls have shown Elizabeth Warren rising. She is rising. Here's the most recent Iowa poll. Bernie Sanders in second place. Not so far behind Joe Biden. This is CBS YouGov. Here's New Hampshire. Bernie Sanders in second place. Elizabeth Warren trails him. Here's South Carolina. Biden is kicking everybody's butt. Let's just call it what it is. Elizabeth Warren is in a distant fourth place. Bernie Sanders is in second place. Eating his lunch. Yes, she had a very good fundraising quarter. I give her credit. I reported on it. Bernie Sanders still out fundraised every single other person. And let me find that if I have it. Yeah, we have it right here. I already reported on this. We got, exclusively, status quo, nobody else had it. Bernie got 450,000 unique donors. That's 450,000 450,000 different people donated to Bernie Sanders' campaign in April, May, and June. That's what the second quarter is. Elizabeth Warren had 384,000. Bernie Sanders had 1 million donations. Elizabeth Warren, 683,000. Bernie Sanders, $10 less, the average donation. She raised $1.1 million more. Credit to her. The overall numbers, it's not even close. Bernie Sanders had more donors, had more actual donations, and has a lower amount, which shows even more grassroots support. And Bernie Sanders, by the way, she's eating his lunch. He's had a record number of donations. Record number of donations. 2 million donations in 4 months. So you could say Elizabeth Warren has been doing better. She definitely has risen in the polls. Eating his lunch. Are you kidding me? I mean, it's just one lie on top of lie on top of lie on top of lie. It's absurd. It's about the thunder and lightning. The gods are so angry at this corporate propaganda. Thank you. Reeve Barker, $2. Tulsi on The View today. Anything interesting? Full disclosure, I didn't see it. I had 2 doctor's appointments this morning, so I didn't see it. We'll have to take a look. I'll cover it if there is anything interesting. So then this clip turns to what I think was just, the anchor has a responsibility to shut this down. I'm sure you've already seen it. If you haven't, here it is.
Alternative to Hillary Clinton, who was a baggage-carrying establishment candidate. Not a terrible candidate, but she had problems. Is much different from running in a field with 20 people, including people who share your values and your approach, who are more effective in certain respects politically. Elizabeth Warren's also a Democrat. Bernie Sanders is not a Democrat, and he did not do especially well with self-identified Democrats in the 2016 election. He did better with independents. So I think that Elizabeth Warren has done a very effective job so far. Can she keep it going? She has some problems of her own. We'll see.
I like that Bernie Warren spoonerism. Put that on a bumper sticker perhaps. Let me ask you lastly, maybe just, how you study these debates and look at these debates, how you think that this distinction is going to be made on the debate stage in Detroit.
Well, I mean, look, first of all, I think what the first debate showed us is that they do make a difference, right? I mean, we've already had at least one candidate drop out. So, it feels like this is going to narrow it further and further. I think, having Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren next to each other will really highlight, because for me, as, again, I'm not the political analyst here, but just as a woman, probably considered a somewhat moderate Democrat, Bernie Sanders makes my skin crawl. And I can't even identify for you what exactly it is, but I see him as sort of a not pro-woman candidate. And so having the two of them there, like, I don't understand young women who support him. And I'm hoping that having him next to her will help highlight that, because those are the people that if I were her, I would want to say, well, why are you supporting him and not me if you're going to choose between the two of us?
We'll leave it there. Come back in just a moment. Mike Memley, thank you very much for joining us
Wow.
from Iowa this morning. Coming up, the backlash
Maybe you should go to a
against President Trump's race
dermatologist. Maybe you should go to a dermatologist. So let's take a look at who this quack is first. Mimi Roca. She's a distinguished fellow in criminal justice at Pace University, graduated magna cum laude from New York NYU School of Law. She was also an assistant United States attorney in the Southern District of New York from February 2001 until October 2017. I didn't have a lot of time to really look into her, but I'm pretty sure she's a pretty big-time lawyer. She worked for the Southern District of New York, who is the same Southern District investigating Trump and his businesses and possible money laundering. I think she's wealthy. I can't confirm that. It really doesn't matter, to tell you the truth. But what's amazing to me about that clip is that on a news network, again, I say news loosely, an anchor allows a guest to say, I'm not the political analyst. So she's already saying, I don't know anything about politics. I'm not qualified to even talk about this. Okay? Which is fine. You don't need to have like a master's degree in politics to talk about it. She already says, I don't know anything about anything. I can't really tell you why I feel this way. I don't know what I'm talking about. But he just makes my skin crawl. And the anchor, a responsible journalist, a responsible journalist would say, all right, well, let's hold up. I mean, can you point to anything? Because that's pretty strong stuff that you think you're basically saying he's anti-woman. I mean, do you have anything to support that other than, like, you don't like his accent? Or, you don't like his glasses? I mean, that is absurd, and it's offensive. And that anchor, frankly, should correct on air some of the record. Because if somebody wants to go on and say, I don't believe we should eliminate private insurance, and that's why I'm not for Bernie Sanders, or I don't believe that we should we should give free public college, or we should cancel student debt, that's fine. We could debate it, and they will be proven wrong. But to just spew this vitriol, and by the way, I would say that also, like, if I just went on MSNBC and CNN and was like, I don't know, Kamala Harris, she makes my skin crawl. Can you imagine what would happen to me? If I just said, I can't say why. I just think that Pete Buttigieg, like, there's something about him that just makes me want to jump off a bridge. She wasn't qualified to discuss it. But putting that aside, the anchor, because this is their goal, to knock Bernie out. Not just MSNBC, CNN, New York Times, Washington Post, of course. It is so irresponsible. It's not journalism. It's not even just propaganda. It's dangerous. So I'm just going to borrow from this guy, Davis Tom. I should have looked. Hold on. I don't know who he is, but credit to him if you want to follow him on Twitter. Heard you said that Bernie is anti-woman. I would like to point you to some history. In 1972, a year before Roe versus Wade, Bernie ran on a platform saying, it strikes me as incredible that politicians think that they have a right to tell a woman what she can or cannot do with her body. That was the year 1972. That was the year 1972. You know who said something different just 2 years later? Work with me. The screen is going to go black for a second. So Bernie, before Roe versus Wade, said, it's mind-boggling to me that men feel they have the right to tell a woman what to do with their body. This was Joe Biden in 1974. Never gets mentioned in the media. I don't think that a woman has the sole right to say what should happen to her body. No, not making it up. This is something Joe Biden said in an interview. I don't think that a woman has the sole right to say that, to say what should happen to her body. This is in 1974 when he was in his 30s, not 10 years old. And Bernie Sanders, who in 1972, a year before Roe versus Wade, says, it strikes me as incredible that politicians think they have the right to tell a woman what she can or cannot do with her body. Bernie Sanders is the anti-woman candidate? I mean, you cannot make this shit up. And in a sane news environment, Joe Biden would be asked, well, why did you say that in the 1970s? What did you mean by that? What made you change your mind that women should control their own bodies? And by the way, if you took a survey, how many women that watch CNN or MSNBC do you know have ever heard that quote that Joe Biden said? My guess, 0. Jen, how many do you think? My guess, 0. A few more from Davis Tom. His account says David Tom, read bio. Feel free to follow him. Bernie's 1972 governor election profile, a feminist view of the Democratic and Liberty Union candidates. Bernie Sanders, mayor, the working women's ally. An affirmative action which bought women into well-paying construction jobs and how it challenged the ideological assumptions about women holding unfeminine jobs. Do you know, in 1991, Bernie Sanders tried to add an amendment to Civil Rights Act of 1991 that would have ensured that race and sex discrimination would be treated identically under federal law. 1992, breast cancer in America today is a tragedy of epidemic proportions, and he had a plan and a bill. The Senate version became law in October 1992. Without the Freedom of Choice Act, women will need a computer program and a travel guide to find a safe and legal abortion. Bernie Sanders on him pushing the passage of Freedom of Choice Act, April 1992. Bernie Sanders' 1994 op-ed about his House resolution to urge the insurance industry as a whole to abide by the established guidelines of the pediatric organizations. I'm putting this in the super chat. Definitely give David a follow. Great David finding all this. But it's just insane. Listen, if you don't like Bernie Sanders, if you're a corporate hack, if you're a greedy motherfucker who says, I'm going to eat my cake, you're not getting your Medicare for all because it will make me lose my money. If you want to say, I'm going to eat my fucking cake, I'm going to drink my champagne, I'm going to eat my caviar, and you can go fuck yourself with your little single payer and your little free public college, and I'll let the planet burn if it means I can go out 5 nights a week, then go on TV and defend it. Okay? But do not smear an actual public servant who's been fighting for women probably longer than you've been alive. And by the way, here is Harvard University Institute of Politics poll. I'm trying to find, what was the date on this? I don't know when this is from, but it's a few months ago. Among young women, Bernie Sanders narrows to 5 points, 29% for Sanders, 24% Biden, O'Rourke in third with 9%, followed by Harris with 7%. So apparently the younger generation of America likes them and is feeling the burn. And by the way, there's a lot of older women that like Bernie Sanders. And by the way, this doesn't mean... That's right, Jordan is not giving 2 shits about our monetization today. So give 3 shits for Jordan and Status Coup. And so that Jen doesn't yell at me, leave a super chat swear jar if you can. Or become a Status Coup member. Right now, we are at 634 members. There's 500 of you watching. I know there are people in this crowd. And I'm going to come and I'm going to find you that are not Status Coup members. If you want to see real independent journalism in America, if you want to see us out in the field, join us as a member. That's statuscoup.com/join. I promise you it will be worth it. You can become a member at $5 a month, $10 a month, $20 a month, or $179 annually. We have our monthly members calls. We are going to be making other bonus content just for members in the coming weeks. And more importantly, this is how we create a real, sustainable, independent. There's a lot of companies out there, there's a lot of news organizations, there's a lot of hip outlets, some of them I used to work for, that call themselves independent. Well, they asked you to become a member, and what do you get? 24/7 Trump, 24/7 Russia, 24/7 substanceless bullshit. We are covering what's really going on, and we are handing a microphone to the people out in America. I promise you, when Ty and I go to Detroit this weekend, and next week to cover that debate, there will not be media out in the streets interviewing the people. There will not be media interviewing the low-income and minority people of Detroit to hear their voices on the fact that Detroit is a war zone. Detroit's water, by the way, has been contaminated for years. No one other than Status Quo has covered that. We did it a few months ago on the ground in Detroit. We cover the stories when they're not sexy. And we're bringing journalism back, and we're making journalism sexy again. Bringing, what do they call it? We're bringing sexy back? We're bringing journalism back, baby. Just put it in your pipe, smoke it, and then become a Status Quo member. Statusquo.com/join. That's statusquo.com/join. We need to get to 700 members by the end of this month, so we don't have a lot of time. So if you're on the fence, first of all, if you're on the fence, sitting on a fence seems very, very uncomfortable. Sitting on a fence sounds very uncomfortable. So get off that fence so you don't injure yourself. So that is the propaganda machine at MSNBC. And before my power goes out, because it literally looks like it's about to be the storm of the century here in New York City, I got one more fake progressive, or as the cool kids say, faux-gressives, to expose tonight. And that's Kamala Harris. And I'm sorry I'm a little late to this party. Thank you, Chris, 99 cents in the super chat. I'm sorry I'm a little late to this clip, because this was a week ago. I've just been super busy covering other stuff. This answer by Kamala Harris is one of the, in terms of bullshit detectors, this is one of the worst answers I've ever seen a presidential candidate give. And of course, CNN, gingerly challenged her. Very gingerly challenged her. Kamala Harris is presenting to America fairy dust. And no one is calling her on it. Let's take a look. This is Kamala Harris on Medicare for All.
What's going on up here?
What is that? That's
After the
laser?
ads.
A Chevy Blazer?
Oh, this is dope. I love the lights.
It looks like a piece of candy. It's gorgeous. It's just really chic. I want one of these.
The all-new Chevy Blazer speaks for itself.
What former Vice President Joe Biden would suggest is that you're not necessarily being clear with the American people. And just this past week, he was asked about ending private insurance as we know it. And when he asked about the others, the former vice president responded, so far not. Because 150 million Americans are covered by private insurance. What happens to those 150 million Americans under President Harris?
Well, it's the same as the millions of Americans every day that transition into Medicare as seniors. It's seamless, without any difference to their coverage in terms of access to health care. It has to happen over a period of time. There's no question we would have to go from the current system into a Medicare for All system and transition into it. But the idea that there would be any substantial difference in terms of the health care that people receive is just not accurate.
So people who have private insurance would eventually have to give that up under your plan?
They would eventually be covered under Medicare for All, and they would still see their doctor, and that's what they want.
How long will this transition take?
I think the transition is going to have to take, the bill is 4 years. I think it's going to have to take more than that, maybe, to be honest with you. Yeah.
And all of this done without a middle-class tax hike?
Without a middle-class tax hike, yes.
30 trillion over 10 years.
There are ways to pay for it, also understanding the investment that we are going to be making in a way that is going to reap great benefits in terms of other costs.
The investment where?
In American health. And what we are otherwise paying as a cost for people not having access to health care and the burdens that places on systems across the board when people don't have access to health care.
And when people question that there is no formula for this, that you are going to find money in magical ways, is not realistic thinking, how do you respond to that?
status quo is not enough. So we have to be open to challenging status quo so that everyone has access to health care and price is not the barrier. We have to agree that what's happening right now is not affordable to many, many working families. It's just not affordable. 1 in 5 people can't afford their prescription medication. We're looking at a situation where 1 in 4 diabetes patients can't afford their insulin. We're looking at a situation where seniors are coming out of pocket as much as $4,000 a year to pay for their arthritis medication because it's not, otherwise they can't afford it. We have to move to a system where price is not the barrier to access to health care.
Well, Joe Biden says that this is what you are suggesting of Obamacare. Is that accurate?
It's absolutely not. Listen, I will put my record up against anybody as having been a fighter for the maintenance. It was a profound.
So it is moving on from Obamacare.
And making improvements on it. And President Obama himself said that there are improvements to be made.
Your policy that you released today, the drug policy, what I found quite intriguing about it is that in proposal after...
So let me get this straight. Okay? And remember, this is a super chat. So if you're feeling super, even though Kamala Harris is a lying fucking liar, let us know in the super chat. Kamala Harris is going to provide universal health care for all Americans as part of Medicare for All. She's flip-flopped about 17 times on whether she's going to abolish private insurance, which needs to be abolished to make it happen, but put that aside. She is going to do this without raising taxes on, I mean, there really isn't a middle class left, but whatever, you want to call it the middle class, by not raising taxes on everyday Americans, which I've already described to you earlier. Yes, taxes are going to go up under Bernie Sanders' plan. He's not lying to you. He's saying your taxes are going to go up, but your health care costs are going to go way down, and the costs that you're going to save from health care are going to be more than the tax increase, meaning you're going to have more savings than tax increases. So overall, between the two, you're going to be saving more money. So at least he's honest. Yeah, you're going to get a new set of taxes to pay for this, but you're going to save money because the healthcare costs are way more than that. Kamala Harris is saying, no, I'm going to give you this. Thank you, Richard Williams, $10 in the super chat. Appreciate it. Kamala Harris is saying, no. I'm going to give you the goods. I'm going to give you Medicare for all, and I'm not going to raise. You're not going to have any new taxes to pay. So the deductibles, the co-pays, the co-insurance, gone. And no tax increases, because I'm not prepared for a middle-class tax cut, middle-class tax increase, which is what her consultants and Hillary Clinton's people are telling her what to say. Just move your lips. Don't worry if any of it makes any sense. Don't worry about if you're telling the truth. Just move those lips. Make it sound progressive. Thank you, Rock Lee, $1.99 in the super chat. Interview George Gage, so Kamala has to pardon him. Don't know who that is? Send us an email, info@statusquo.com. It is not even mathematical. And by the way, I'm not somebody who's like, oh, how are you going to pay for it? I believe in modern monetary theory. We got more than enough money to pay for all of this. You think taxes cover our endless war? Not even close. We print the money. We print the money to pay for endless war. And if you just noticed, Trump is sending another 500 troops to the Middle East to fight Iran. This is on top of the 1,500 troops he sent a month ago. So 2,000 troops have been sent to Iran within the last 2 months. Barely any coverage. On this. So Kamala Harris, you have Zerlina Maxwell and these fucking idiots on MSNBC saying, oh, Elizabeth Warren is specific. Bernie Sanders, how is he going to do it? Are you kidding me? Kamala Harris should be disqualified from the race with answers like that. She is lying to the American people. You cannot offer a universal. It's expensive. It is expensive. It's less expensive than our current healthcare system, but Medicare for all under Bernie is going to cost between $30 and $40 trillion. But it's going to save us a lot more. And Kamala Harris is saying, I'm going to provide what Bernie Sanders is talking about with no tax increases on anybody other than Wall Street, which we both know that's not going to happen because Wall Street is who she's taking money from. It's just nonsense, and it's lies. And basically, the CNN anchor, or reporter, kind of, very gingerly pushed back on her. I would have hammered her over the head. And when she pushed back, did you notice she asked her, well, how? She didn't have an answer. She was asked, basically, I'm paraphrasing, I don't remember what the reporter asked, but she said, but how are you going to do that? She didn't have an answer and then said, the status quo cannot continue. She just totally pivoted and didn't answer, and the status quo cannot continue. This is the answers. This is how people answer that have no policies, that have no moral compass, that have no actual, guiding principle on politics, and are just saying whatever the hell they've been told to say by the consultants, by their campaign officials, by Hillary Clinton's donors, and the DNC. It's really alarming. So next time you're told that Bernie Sanders is just throwing shit against the wall, he doesn't explain how he's going to do it, it's pie in the sky, show them that Kamala Harris clip. Please show them that Kamala Harris clip where she defines economic sense. She doesn't actually say how she's going to pay for it. If we're all not going to pay a little bit more in taxes to overall save more money, what are you going to charge? You're going to charge it the $30 trillion to Wall Street? She has no idea how she's going to do it because she's not actually going to follow through on it. If Kamala Harris became president, she will, do some mealy-mouthed, incremental bullshit, maybe expand Obamacare, maybe put in a half a public option that's not even a full public option, and say, well, I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. Even though all the polls show this is what the people want. That's exactly what's going to happen. For the 500 of you watching, I have a few things before I bid you adieu. Let's see. So, we have 500 people watching right now. I don't want to be a broken record, but status quo can only grow as far as you take us. So we're doing great reporting in the field. I'm about to end by showing you an interview Marcus did with a Joe Biden supporter who basically is very symbolic of the idiocy of most of the older people in this country. When I say most of the older people in this country, by the data, most of the older people in this country vote for people like Joe Biden. That doesn't mean all older people do, because there's a lot of older progressives. So don't get offended in the audience. I'm not saying you're all stupid, just the majority who say things like I'm about to show you. We could only keep growing. Yes, we've grown so much. If you're late to the party today, if you weren't watching, we've grown almost 12,000 YouTube subscribers in less than 1 month. Our fastest growth in status quo history, thanks to a few videos that popped off and are doing quite well, thanks to our coverage in Miami, and thanks to you, all of you new people signing up. Thank you. Spread the word, share these videos, like these videos, all that. But our business model is not primarily depending on YouTube subscribers. It's depending on paid membership. So we have 634 now of you who have signed on the dotted line. That's statusquo.com/join. You're also going to get bonus content as a Status Quo member. Go to statusquo.com, click on members content. That's where all our member content is. This is how we grow. So I asked the 500 of you watching, if you're on the fence, get off. $5 a month, $10 a month, $179 annually. And for those of you who say, Jordan, stop begging for money. Well, if I'm not begging you to join the media revolution, who's going to beg? I'd rather be begging you, the worker bees of America and around the world, because there's a lot of a lot of viewers internationally. I'd rather be begging you than Goldman Sachs, than ExxonMobil, than Pfizer, than Facebook, or any of the corrupt members of the United Corporations of America. I will ask you, not them. So keep it coming if you can. Become a member. It makes a huge, huge difference. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Bad Mama Jama, $5 in the super chat. It is imperative we have a public MMT awakening, as that is the key to any real progressive change. Steph Kelton is why I'm sticking with Bernie. Hey, Bad Mama Jama, first of all, love your name. Do you know how many times I've emailed Stephanie Kelton to do an interview with me? She doesn't respond. I don't know if she doesn't like me. I don't know what it is. I've tried. So if you know her, tell her what's up. Tell her to come on Status Quo. We have interviewed Steve Grumbine. on MMT. I'd love to do more on MMT because I'm a believer. And I think you're right. We need to wake more people up that we do have plenty of money to pay for all these things. Am I pro Bernie? This decides my membership? Absolutely. I've always said I personally am pro Bernie. I'm not going to do propaganda for Bernie Sanders. I'm not going to twist the facts for Bernie Sanders. My job is not to elect Bernie Sanders. My job is to tell the truth. My job is to present the facts. My job is to get out in the field. We, and Jen can tell you this, we have covered more Bernie Sanders rallies than any other independent media outlet, and we are interviewing Bernie Sanders supporters more than anyone else. You watch this channel. If you go to playlists, click on the front page, playlist, you click on 2020 or you click on the Bernie playlist, you will see more content here, more interviews with Bernie supporters, more stories on Bernie Sanders that expose the corporate media lies, expose the actual policies of Bernie Sanders than anyone else combined. Put it in your pipe and smoke it. Carne Verde, $5 in the super chat. Contributing to the Jordan Roof Repair Fund. The dripping is very noticeable, dude. It's actually dripping on my AC. But yeah, it looks like it is very dark and very rainy out in New York City right now. So thank you, Carne Verde. So with that, I bid you adieu. I'm going to play out this clip from Marcus. This is one of our reporters that you are paying for through membership. Become a member so we can hire reporters full-time. Right now, we don't have any full-time reporters other than I. So, well, Jen is also doing great journalism for us too, but she's not full-time in a journalism role. She does a lot of our marketing, business development, all those things. And she does a super chat on a daily basis. So thank Jen, co-founder of Status Quo. So here is Marcus's bonkers clip with your typical Joe Biden supporter who seems to confuse what socialism is, doesn't understand the difference between socialism and communism, and basically is going to... People like this are why we keep getting the same old incremental bullshit. Here we go.
If Bernie's a candidate, I'm voting for him. Yeah, socialism, it's a bugaboo. I keep asking our son Christopher, how'd that work in the Soviet Union? How'd that work in Venezuela? And he's
working pretty well in China.
The dictatorship of the proletariat. We're not so big on the proletariat part, but we're really big on the dictatorship part.
There's a political compass, and there's
communism with Chinese.
Well, I mean, capitalism is dictatorship too. I mean, you don't get a say on anything you do at your job.
It's called democratic accountability.
Different.
You get your butt thrown out if you don't.
That's authoritarianism versus. That's authoritarianism versus.
Authoritarianism, but for only 4 years or 6 years.
No. What I'm saying though is authoritarianism versus democracy is different than socialism versus capitalism, because socialism in itself and capitalism in itself are both economic principles, whereas authoritarianism and democracy are political principles. So those two things, all of those can be the same thing at the same time, and we're always on a spectrum between capitalism and socialism at the same time as well, because we have the police department. We have, big bailouts for banks. They got socialism, and it's fine and dandy for them to have socialism.
They did.
But we talk about giving kids or wiping out student debt, or we talk about getting rid of wiping out student debt or doing Medicare for all of a sudden we got to figure out how to pay for it now.
Yeah, exactly.
But if it's just that's kind of messed up.
We're a wealthy enough country. We can pay for poor people's health care. We can do that. That's not something that's going to bankrupt us. That's not something we should be afraid of. It's something we should do. And that's what, it used to be the Democrats would come up with a great idea, like Obamacare, Affordable Care Act, and then the Republicans would come in and they would adjust it and fine-tune it and make it actually work. These guys, they didn't want to make it actually work. They just want to throw it away. Who's going to pay poor people's health care?
Well, even what we have now, even Obamacare, like 30,000 people a year were still dying of preventable causes, even with Obamacare. Now, did it work and did it make a lot of gains? Yeah, it definitely helps a lot, but we still got a long way to go. And recently, I don't know if you saw the campaign ad, Joe Biden was saying that we need to stick with Obamacare and we need to strengthen it and then get a public option instead of Medicare for all. I was wondering what you thought about that proposal.
To look around the world at systems that seem to be working, and that sounds a lot like the German system where they're
Oh boy. Oh boy. I mean, this is what we're dealing with, folks. This is what we're dealing with. So, the Soviet Union was not socialism. The Soviet Union was not... Oh boy. Oh boy. The Soviet Union was not even close to what Bernie Sanders is talking about. Bernie Sanders is like doing a very mild form of, honestly, it's really like social democracy. It's not real socialism. He's not talking about ending the capitalist system. Washington Post might make you think that. CNN might make you think that. New York Times might make you think that. But Bernie Sanders, not even close to what the Soviet Union won, which was authoritarian communism. But, this is the misinformation and idiocy. Misinformation and idiocy that goes on. On and on and on in America. And what happens? It seeps in. The corporate media reinforces it. So people like that probably watch Rachel Maddow or probably watch CNN or probably read the New York Times and think that Bernie Sanders is trying to do what the Soviet Union did. USSR was a totalitarian dictatorship. You are correct. Lori, did I miss your super chat? Hold on, let me go up. Oh, for some reason it won't let me go up. I think I briefly saw your super chat. Were you the one who said, for MMT, I'd rather not Stephanie Kelton, but Jeff something? Tell me who the Jeff guy is. Jeff. I forget Jeff's last name. But if you tell me, I won't miss it. Sorry, it's hard to go be live and read super chats. I try my best. It's not intentional. So, the only way we can expose more of this nonsense? Oh, thank you. Jen just sent it to me. I like Jeff Epstein, the good Jeff Epstein. Thank you for disclaiming. More than Kelton for learning MMT. He's been on Graham Elwood. Great for beginner MMT. All right, cool. I'm gonna write that down. See if I can get him on. Thank you, Lori. Sorry if I missed you. And thank you for making sure you were saying not that Jeff Epstein. Who, by the way, if you see more stories out in the media, seems that there's some ties with Bill Clinton to Jeffrey Epstein. But we'll follow up on that another time. Thank you, Kat Dooley, $2 in the super chat. But this notion that Bernie Sanders is offering totalitarian dictatorship, authoritarian communism, for the government to own all the means of production, for even the tax increases that he's talking about, even the tax rates that he's talking about for the uber rich aren't even close to what they were under Dwight Eisenhower, aren't even close to what they were in the 1950s. And this is socialism? Then by that standard, then you think Dwight Eisenhower was a socialist, a Republican, by the way. It's insane. But we're only going to, and by the way, this is why CNN and MSNBC keep pushing this propaganda out there. The New York Times, Washington Post too, because they know they're susceptible older people, not my wise viewers that are older. There's a lot of susceptible older people that believe this bullshit. Because they came up in the 1970s and 80s listening to this propaganda from the government and the media about the boogeyman. And they have, ever since, both Fox News and now CNN and MSNBC, tie progressives who are not offering capital S socialism to the Soviet Union. And by the way, what he said Venezuela too, maybe the socialism in Venezuela would be working out a little bit better if we didn't suffocate and demolish and destroy their economy with illegal and crippling sanctions. Maduro has screwed up the economy in some ways himself, but we have taken a machete to that economy with our sanctions, which, by the way, studies have shown 40,000 people have died in Venezuela because of our sanctions. Socialism works when not destroyed by illegal U.S. empire sanctions. And yes, Rockley, refugees are legal. So thank you for Marcus for enduring that crap. If I was with him, it would have been a whole lot worse for that guy. But Marcus is learning and he's doing great. So, went over a little bit today. Thank you for watching. Remember, the only way for us to get Marcus or anyone else in the field, me included, is to grow our membership. We are now at 634 members. So we got 76 to go. 76, no, wait a minute. 40. Oh, we got 66 members to go, I believe. 66 members to go till we hit 700. So if you can become a member, sign up on the dotted line, statuscoup.com/join. I will see you tomorrow. Remember, most people are not lacking compassion in this country. Most people have no idea what is going on. Peace out.